didn't see
For
you.
your
Lisa,
request,
girl.
just in case.
I got that.
Lisa. If you were to see me at work, you'd be like,
Yes.
"She's shy."
Can you see it?
Yeah, I think it's worth more than this. Erica's sister moved her stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
We sold the hotel. Yeah, so we're transitioning right now.
meeting to order.
It's going now, isn't it?
Did you want to wait for the members, or you want to call the meeting to order then?
Do we have a problem?
Then we'll call the meeting to order.
Okay.
What time do you have there, Ms. Daniel?
5:03?
5:03. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:03. Roll call, please.
Mr. Grijalva?
Here.
Ms. Alex Boneo? Mr. Adam Brake? Ms. Anel Lopez?
Here.
Mr. Pete Cordova?
Present.
Mr. Michael Valdenegro?
Present.
Mr. Luis Pedrosa?
Present.
Ms. Monica Miranda?
Present.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda, persons wishing to address the committee in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do we have anyone?
None.
Thank you. Item number 3, approval of minutes from May 30th, 2017, June 21st, 2017, February 13th, 2018, May 21st, 2018, June 11th, 2018, October 25th, 2018, February 20th, 2019, June 4th, 2019, December 4th, 2019, and February 17th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion?
I second it.
I have a motion by Ms. Anel Lopez, am I correct? And second by Mr. Pete Cordova.
Correct.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
I think we do all those in favor. Is that okay?
Oh, all of them? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. Item number 4 on the agenda, presentation discussion of third quarter financial update for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. May I have the presentation? Mrs. Miranda, are you presenting it?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Grijalva. Thank you,
Thank you. The
members
floor
of
is
the
yours.
Finance Committee. Okay, thank you. This is the third quarter financial status report for July to March for fiscal year 2020-2021. The first slide that we're going to see is the general government cash position balance as of March 31st of 2021. As you can see, the general fund reserve has a balance of $6,866,584. Restricted funds total $4,487,231, and that is broken down by the HER fund, which is our highway user revenue fund, of $1,098,944. CARES Act capital projects, $707,396. Fund balance capital projects, $357,408. Contingency reserve debt of $1 million. Capital projects is in the negative $12,289. RICO is $266,893. Debt service $284,447. The Alex Black Fund, the Alex Black Fund has $145,340. The Insurance Claims Reserve Fund has $639,091. Total general government cash position is $11,353,814. The second slide is the one you're used to seeing for the general fund reserve, which is our 45-day operating reserve, capital reserve, and debt service reserve level that we have to have. Total is $4,520,279. Our current general fund reserve is $6,866,584, which makes us over what our limits are supposed to be at $2,346,305. Excuse me. And this is a visual representation of the last slide. As you can see, the balances are going up every year, and hopefully we'll continue that trend. This next slide is the sales tax for fiscal year 2021. It's our adjusted sales tax, which means the money that is the actual representation of what we're collecting from the Department of Revenue. Because of the way we collect, the chart can scatter, it can drop and change. It varies, but we brought this together to make it more accurate for you. As you can see, we're still above last year's levels at $683,022 compared to last year at $609,714. This next slide is our sales tax for fiscal year 2021. As you can see, we're at 25.4% above last year's in sales tax collection, which is largely due to that 1 cent sales tax increase. This is actually apples to apples now. What you're seeing is actual comparisons with the increase. Through March, we were at $6,600,594 collected in 2021, compared to last year at $5,260,959, which is a difference of $1,339,635. This is another breakdown that I'm not sure if you guys receive this every month. With the finance report, but this is another representation, just a different view of it compared to what it's budgeted at. We're collecting in 2021 $6,600,594, where we budgeted it to be at $4,952,995 year to date as of the third quarter. 25.4% above last year's, and it's 33% of what we budgeted to be at. This next slide is a more detailed breakdown of the sales tax collection per category. As you can see, we have some variances just in the advertising and mining. Most of these variances are due to an increase in the category, the activity. Commercial rental is up 52.8%, and that is largely due because that does include part of the border wall contractors. We should be seeing in the fourth quarter if there's any differences in that, we'll be seeing these differences in commercial rental as well as in retail. Do you have any questions on this particular slide?
On advertising, why was there such a big increase in advertising? What is that?
We actually had several new vendors that increased their advertising efforts. Some new, some actually increased their efforts. So they attributed more into that category in tax.
Where do they advertise that we collect on the sales tax?
I'm sorry?
Where do they advertise that we
What?
benefit?
I can pull that right now when I stop sharing my screen, and then I'll let you know at the end of the meeting. I have the report pulled up where I can tell you what. I can't tell you exactly what it was because it's just broken down as advertising.
Oh.
It's not like specific as to what it is that they're advertising.
Okay, that's fine. That's not important.
I'm sorry?
No, that's fine. You don't have to pull it up.
Oh.
Typical vendor, and we can't release vendor
Right,
information
right.
either, but typically it's the newspapers
Oh, okay.
that pay advertising, sales, when you buy an ad, you pay sales tax on that ad.
Okay.
Other ones are billboards,
Okay.
which we have some here around town. Any magazines that, I don't know if I'm aware of any magazines that are advertising here.
And I believe in this case it was increase in newspaper advertising.
Newspapers. Okay.
Is there any other questions on these? Okay, I'll move on. This is the third quarter 2021 revenues versus expenditures and the variances for each of our funds. As you can see, the general fund has an overage of $871,086. HERF has an overage of $27,756. LTAP is in the black, $291,463. Capital projects is in the red, 159,654, and that was budgeted for capital projects. Self-funded insurance is at over 138,998. Other major ones are the water department is over 762,398. Sewer is in the black, 385,234, and sanitation is in the red, 336,561. Total revenue is $24,974,634. Expenditures are $22,987,706 for a positive balance of $1,986,927 combined. This is just a comparison of where we were for the past 3 years to include this year. In 2019, at third quarter, we were at $690,435 in the black. In 2020, $571,515 in the black. And as of 2021, we're at $871,086 in the black for the general fund. Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. Even with the pandemic, we thought we were going to take a huge hit just to have that 571,000. That's, I mean, it seems the more we stabilize, the economy is stabilizing, the more that the revenues are going up, the more, confidence. So it's very exciting to see these numbers and keep saying we're in the black, instead of seeing how we were before in the red here and the red there. So thank you, Ms. For the presentation and the information. So there's no questions on the presentation that was just given to us? Or
No.
discussion?
No.
No? If there's no further discussion, we'll move to item number 5, presentation, discussion, and recommendation by way of possible action or direction on fiscal year 2021-2022 operating budget for the city of Douglas.
Luis, would you like me to share that, or will you guys be sharing that?
We can share it. Can you stop sharing your screen?
Okay, I'll do that. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen.
Should be at the bottom. Share screen.
Mr. Grijalva,
Yes.
I'd like to note that Mr. Adam Brake arrived at 5:15.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Under the bus.
I'm not able to get out of
Things
it.
are noticed here. Not that we need to know.
Is she the only host, Luis? Maybe that's why. Because if the city's not the host anymore, only the host can share the screen, I think.
Okay. Do you have
Was the
Let me pull it up for you, Lisa. I'll just.
at the bottom ribbon? There's a share screen button.
No me sale.
What do you see at the bottom of your screen? Do you see like a ribbon that says on the left hand, join audio, start video?
No, it just completely got rid of the meeting screen for me, and all I'm seeing is the who's in.
Can you click on the 3 like ellipses next to City of Douglas and then try to make us a host?
Under participants.
Let me see. I have absolutely no idea where it went. That screen, meeting controls. Approve.
Huh? No, that's not on the agenda this time. That's staying here till 8 o'clock at night. Disgusting.
And she makes somebody else the host under the participants?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do, but it's
Increased and helped staying.
It's not letting. It's
Okay.
not
Yeah, that's what they just.
letting the screen pop up. I don't know why.
Can she leave and come back in?
I can do that. I can get out.
Okay. Yeah, let's try that.
Okay. Okay.
Are you okay with that? Is it? So you'd have to make it work to work out.
I think I just assigned it. Did you guys get control of it?
At the bottom was this reclaim cost.
Okay.
Monica, do you see the screen with your name and the different
Yeah, I do.
tiles? Under City
Yeah,
of
and
Douglas,
then
do you see that 3 dots? Just click on the 3 dots.
Uh-huh. I see it, but it doesn't, it says I'm not sharing my screen anymore.
Can we now share
She's not.
the presentation? We can do it now, right? All right. Okay. Let's put that one. Mr. Ricardo, are you able to see the presentation now?
No, I have just the 7713 number showing up, just the audio.
Monica, can you go again on the City of Douglas tile, the 3 dots?
Uh-huh.
Do you see those 3 dots that are, it's a blue square?
I just made you guys the host. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, now I see it.
All right, sorry about that. It's okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the discussion and ultimately recommendation. So with the joint meeting, we presented our proposed budget to the Finance Committee and the Mayor and Council. This is just an overview. Nothing has changed since the last time you saw it, so I'll go through this fairly quickly. Purpose is to kind of put this and refresh the memories and just let you know what's included in this budget so that the committee can feel free to make a recommendation to the Mayor and Council. So what's in this budget? We talked about $4.3 million of ARP monies, that's the American Rescue Plan Act monies, that we will fund towards our public safety salaries. That at this point is the idea and one of the eligible categories for us to be able to receive that. So, but we're still waiting confirmation on those eligible uses. With that, by applying those 4.3 to our salaries, it frees up some other dollars that we can use for one-time capital expenditures. So the idea this year is to apply them for investment into our street equipment infrastructure. We're talking about an asphalt plant, some more equipment that will help us to do a lot more work, as well as to be able to possibly sell asphalt. Do I need to get in the microphone? So equipping our staff in a better fashion that will allow us to do more work out there, be more efficient, and if we do decide to go for a street bond, it could certainly help us lower our costs with us having the ability to produce our own asphalt. Instead of having to buy it from the outside, having it trucked over here, so certainly can present a cost savings. We have about $1.1 million in community projects. We'll go over those later on. Public safety, $129,000. Downtown revitalization for $300,000. And the port of entry water and sewer infrastructure design portion, about $500,000. Other investments that are not ARP money, we're planning to do $2.2 million in water infrastructure investment, which includes about a $1.7 million well. Streets projects, again, our annual street project of $500,000. And we spoke about addressing the PSPRS, which is our pension for our public safety officers, police and fire, is addressing the unfunded liability that we currently have. We're currently funded about 34%. The idea is to bond or go out for revenue obligation proceeds to be able to fund our plans in full and be at 100% funded. That will alleviate a burden which is projected to rise up, basically double our contribution rates within the next 15 years. So by doing this, we stabilize, we switch the liabilities of contributing towards a pension, we switch that towards a debt, basically a debt service that stabilizes that fund and puts us into better financial footing. This is just a quick rundown of what the numbers look like. I know it's quite a bit, but $61 million is not our typical general fund budget. That includes a $40 million pension deal. So that's going to be a one-time deal. We'll go back to our normal about $20 million general fund budget. But this is just a special year. The other funds are funded by or are balanced by carryover funds, such as the enterprise funds. We're carrying over some funding for capital projects. CIP will also carry over into next fiscal year. Transit, HERF, which is our streets fund, all will carry over. Housing, airport, and golf course will require subsidies, $31,000, $33,000, and $180,000 respectively for those. And at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me.
Could you repeat that, please, again? I'm sorry, that little part where you said this is not typical, because this was one of the things that caught my attention when I was reading this at home.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, I really want to know what this is about.
Right.
The general fund for 2021 budget was $19 million, and then I saw it. Expense 2022 budget 61 million plus more, and then 42 plus million difference. Wow.
That's right.
So, but you said it's a one-time thing?
It's a one-time thing because we're borrowing $40 million.
Okay.
We're borrowing $40 million. So what that means is we're bringing in that money, borrowing those $40 million, and then once we get those funds, we transfer them over to the pension plans. So we're gaining and then paying out $40 million. We have to show that in the financials. So that's going to be a one-time deal as this transaction happens. But going down the line next year, we can expect to go back, like I said, to probably around a $19-20 million annual budget, and we'll be paying debt service payments for the following years. So it's
on that $40 million?
On that $40 million, we'll be paying debt. So, but What we're doing right now is we're paying our pension obligation for our firefighters and our police officers. We pay that on an annual basis. Currently, we pay about 80% of a public safety official. 80% of their salaries gets paid matched towards their pension. Okay, so that 80% goes away once we fund our plan in full. It goes away, and we get back to paying our normal pension costs of 12%. Okay, so but we're switching that to a debt service amount. Basically, you're switching out one liability over another. But the idea in doing that is that you're funding your plan in full at 100%, which will help us down the road. Your liability right now, it keeps increasing. But by funding it in full, you basically chop that mountain per se. You chop that mountain and you level things out with debt service. Okay, so we're basically getting in front of this financial, I guess, predicament by being able to borrow money to pay for this liability.
And I'm just trying to learn. This is all new to me.
No, I understand.
So is that what is meant by unfunded liabilities?
Yeah, so
I've heard that phrase.
Yeah, it's an unfunded liability. Basically, is something that you owe, and you presently don't have the funds to pay for that.
Okay.
Right? So it's something that follows you, that we know we owe, we have to pay it at some point in time. And it's the way our pension system is structured. Unfortunately, it's structured in a way that is currently not financially feasible. And there's many reasons for that, okay? I mean, because people are living longer with their pensions, so we're having to pay out more money. The plan was a little bit richer than what cities could sustain. So there's different factors that played into why we are here with our pension. This is a fix for that, in trying to borrow money to do that. So I think it's quite interesting the way the mechanics work of this, but basically, like I said, it's really exchanging one liability over another, but stabilizing for the next 18 years, basically, is what we're trying to do.
That's an 18-year to pay that off.
18-year loan. Next slide. This is a slide that we didn't show on our previous presentation. We have 3 funding requests from outside agencies this year. Wall of Faces is requesting $1,000. They're requesting that to pay for rent and supplies, which is older printing supplies for what they do. DART is requesting once again their $13,000 for their Meals on Wheels program, and that's to pay for their fuel. And the Douglas Senior Citizens are requesting $1,500, and that's to pay for their holiday parties, which they host and feed seniors for those events. And all of these are recommended to be funded as requested. I'll go relatively quickly through these slides, but this is just to depict basically the capital requests. We are able to fund a lot of these projects, which is very exciting year in capital. I was able to summarize it, and there's going to be another summary sheet that will do that, but encompassing everything. We tried to do various different things, but one thing that I think it's worth mentioning is the parks area or the community projects. The idea was to fund a study that can give us some insight as to what the community really needs and what is feasible for the city to do, because we've heard of a community center, we've heard of a skate park, a new pool, different amenities that we need, but getting a professional study done can guide us into providing the right type of amenity, maybe point into what exactly we need from a community center. Do we need a large community center, a small community? What services are we trying to meet? So I think a study will do that. And we've also set $425,000 aside to address the results of the study. And I'll go ahead and summarize these here. Yeah, so the general fund, to summarize all the projects, the general fund, which was basically administrative department, included the economic development. We funded an economic development study that can help us with gaining grants, attracting businesses. We're also funding some small improvements in finance, small improvements in visitor center, carrying over some funding for beautification of the cemetery, and developing services to buy some more equipment to clean our right-of-ways. As I mentioned, we're investing $300,000 into downtown revitalization, and that is actually for construction. We currently have a study that's being performed that will be done by approximately early next year, and $300,000 would go towards the recommendations of that study. Mentioned the POE infrastructure, water and sewer, engineering, $500,000. The library, we're investing $25,000 in various improvements within the building. IT infrastructure, which included some IT-related equipment and computer replacement, $41,000. Public safety, as I mentioned, $1.1 million. That also includes a new animal shelter or improvements to our animal shelter. We're still in discussions with U of A to see if the possibility presents itself for them to be in that building for the vet program that we've discussed in the past. If that program doesn't pan out, we do need to look at a proper facility for our guys to house those animals. So it's either going to be improvements to the existing building or going out and finding a new building. Recommending some cardiac monitors for police, for fire, I'm sorry. Some PPE equipment. We're also recommending body-worn cameras for our police officers, which includes funding them for a 5-year period. That includes the data storage being paid up front. We're also funding 3 vehicles for police, as well as some smaller equipment, which includes the vests, as well as some printers and some gym equipment. For Parks and Recreation, I mentioned funding $425 for the results of a plan, as well as funding some turf soccer fields that can be retrofitted into the existing tennis courts, which are currently not being utilized for that. We already have the surface, and there's already lighting there, so we're recommending to fund that. Public Works funding $591,000, and that includes the setting aside money for a warehouse where we can house our supplies, as well as some admin offices. We're also carrying over some funding for some city hall improvements on the air conditioning, as well as council chambers upgrades. We're talking about upgrading this paneling, as well as removing this seating, which is not conducive for people to really sit in the middle when you can't really move these seats around. We're also looking to use it as a multi-purpose room if we get some mobile chairs here, and redoing the flooring. So I think basically upgrading this room to the 21st century. popcorn ceiling is a challenge for us because of asbestos and the cost associated with addressing that. So we need to take a look at it.
The paneling's gonna be back in style. Though.
Yeah, I
We're
know.
gonna-
By the time we
Actually,
take it out,
it is.
in the next 10 years, we'll.
well, we're always behind the curve on style.
We're
So,
mid-century modern
so
again.
let's go to the 20th century.
I have a question, or do you want to?
No, go ahead.
So on the downtown revitalization, wasn't there already a study done with the port of entry that they did, and that included like a downtown? Yeah.
Not quite. The study that was performed was for urban, they call it urban planning, basically, and that was to get us ready for what the port of entry would bring to our city and how it could change our downtown, and some concepts to think about, to really think about what changes we need to implement as a new port of entry comes.
So how is this other study different than that?
This other study, what we did was we gathered some surveys and said, what do you want to see in the downtown? And do we want to see more trees? Do we want to see an entranceway, an archway? Do we want to see better lighting, walkways, different types of elements within the streetscape? We gave them here's some data, and they're going to put together some designs that we can go ahead and take and basically fund those to construct. So that's kind of the difference. In the first one was basically conceptual things that we can do versus actual construction.
And how much does that study cost?
Our study will cost close to $120,000. So continuing with.
But that takes almost half of that budget.
No, the one, I actually want to mention the 120 is already in this year's budget. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the 300,000 is solely for construction.
Solely for
Yeah.
construction. But that's not a lot.
It's still short of where we would like to be.
Yeah.
We probably want to be around the $500,000 to $1 million if you really wanted to do a full plan. But this gets us certainly started. So continue with Herb. We mentioned $1.5 million, $500,000 is for actual street work, and $1 million is for the equipment that we spoke about: asphalt plant, dump trucks, backhoes, crack sealing machines, different types of equipment that can make us better and do more work and be more efficient. $337,148 for transit, and that's for the beginning the design of the transit facility. So we're currently in the site selection process. We're set to finish that in summer. They'll recommend a site for us, and from there on we can choose to develop it. So we have some grant funds already awarded for that purpose to start the design and engineering for the field. Water and sewer, we mentioned that $2.2 million of that is from water. We also, that's just for some water well and some associated equipment with that. There's other projects that we're also including. We're also giving ourselves some capacity to seek out grant funding for the port of entry water and sewer engineering studies. Although we set $500,000 aside of our own money, we're still going out for grants to fund the entire project. So we want to build that capacity within those funds to be able to utilize them if we get awarded. Sanitation, we're purchasing some more cans that we need to replace, and also setting this money aside for future vehicle purchases. Golf course, we're recommending the purchase of a shed, as well as continuing the RV park electrical upgrades and pump fixtures in the back 9. And for the airport, we're recommending We were tentatively told that we got awarded a grant for perimeter fencing. That's phase 3, and that's completely enclosing the perimeter of the airport, and we need to match that by the amount of $40,000. So we're setting that aside, and we're also carrying over improvements to the airport museum, which is adding bathrooms as well as AC improvements. And finally, we're also funding a trailer that is needed for personnel out there to carry trash from the facility over to the town.
So with those improvements to the airport, are we planning on staffing it?
Right now, they're not in this budget. In this budget, we do not have the personnel. Basically, our FBO out there, our fixed base operator, which is our airport attendant, is funded at halftime at the airport. What we're doing right now is we open up the facility by appointment only, and it either gets coordinated by our airport attendant or by our marketing specialist. So we have those two basically going back and forth and opening the building as needed.
Is there a different approach for the golf course? I mean, because it loses money, correct? And then we're going to go put more money into it. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a dumb question, like selling, finding a co-op to take over locally, something else. It just doesn't seem, because that 131 theoretically would bump up that downtown revitalization to closer to the bottom end of what we're thinking. Like, I don't know. I love golf, so I'm a golfer. I go to the course all the time, and I just wonder if there's another way. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what's right now, Mayor and Council are considering to put it out for bid to be sold. There's still some questions to be answered, some mechanics and legal questions that we're asking to make sure we cover all the bases before we put it up for sale. The intention is to pair it with the assets that it has, the RV park, the bar, and the apartments that the city owns there. But yes, I mean, absolutely, the golf course, not just the capital investment of 131, but also we subsidize it $180,000 every year in operations alone. In addition, we subsidize $75,000 worth of water on an annual basis. So it is both an asset and a liability, I would say, because it's an amenity that the public right now wants, and we want to be able to attract people to come and to be here in Douglas. But at the same time, the question is, can we afford to? Can we afford it? Can we afford this path? And one of the planner actually that's working with us in our transit site selection offered us to look at our golf course, because he mentioned that our back nine is really large area, and that a lot of golf courses, what they're doing is pretty much bringing shorter fairways, less watering, less maintenance. You know, looking at strategies like that can probably lessen the burden a little bit, but that's not gonna make you down to zero. Basically, it's gonna help, but there's little things like that we can start doing. Some of these improvements, I mean, the RV park is why we're looking to improve that is because the way it is the electrical is so old that the newer RVs come, they're drawing up so much that it pops the fuses. We're constantly having our electricians out there trying to fix it. It just takes away from our personnel from doing other things. And really just those new RVs out there want to have like a microwave and and TVs and just drawing more and more electricity. We're just not suited right now to handle. Any other questions? Before we move to personnel?
For personnel, as we said before, the employee salaries and benefits is usually a huge component of our budgets. For this year, it's not as much as in a percentage just because of the bond, but usually it's more than 50% when we have to cover employee salaries and benefits. Some of the things that we're trying to recommend for this year is that we want to reclassify a labor position or labor positions that we have in streets to be equipment operator ones, because that will require them to have commercial driver's license, which is what we need for these employees to have, so they can operate the proper equipment that is needed for that component. Also, we have in this budget, this current year, we had some positions that were partially funded, only for a month or 6, and that was the case for the deputy city manager, a parks maintenance worker, and equipment mechanic 1. So for this coming fiscal year, we're budgeting those fully for the 12 months. There were a lot of requests that were made by departments for new positions, but just we are not able to have that sustainable revenue coming in to support those, and that's why we're not making any recommendations for new positions at this time. We are going to be doing some small changes. We have a library specialist right now that is working 30 hours. They're considered full-time, but usually it's 40 hours that they need to work. So we're making that change from 30 to 40. That was the intent since the beginning of the position to be at 40 hours, but through history it just went down to 30 for a couple of years and kind of stayed like that, but we want to bring it back to 40 again. We're increasing overtime for both cemetery and police humane animal control officers, just because of the weekend work that they do, both also for on-call for humane and the Saturday funerals for cemetery. And we're increasing or recommending to increase the on-call staff funding for fire EMS from 50 to 60,000. It just gives them a few more hours to hopefully alleviate with overtime by having these on-call employees versus a lot of overtime from our current staff. And we're also going to probably come back based on the surplus that we'll have at the end of this current fiscal year. We will look at providing a one-time distribution to employees before the end of the calendar year, but also, again, depending on what we have available. Some of the things that are still pending, well, actually, health insurance already came in, and we had about a $50,000 increase onto the city contribution, and that's already in the budget. Something that is pending, though, is the risk liability insurance and workers' comp insurance. Initially, those have come in with about a 14% increase, but we're trying to bring those down, so we'll have those numbers later on in the week or next week. We also need to get the final state share revenues amounts, and again, those usually come in by mid-June, because it always changes. The second set of numbers that they give us always change, both positive or negative. The other component is the ARP Coronavirus Local First Recovery Fund guidance. So we want to make sure that those 4.3 that we're trying to use for public safety salaries, that we are allowed to do so. Because if not, or we're not able to use the full amount, then we'll have to make adjustments to that. So just as something to have in the back of our minds that we have all this recommended, but we might need to make adjustments if needed. And then again, the additional vet services for humane, just to see what we're going to do with that component. And as far as the remaining of the budget calendar, we have the recommendation from the Finance Committee today, hopefully to Council, and then we'll have the tentative budget adoption June 9th, and the final budget adoption on July 14th. Any questions?
Just to clarify on the overtime for cemetery, that gets reimbursed because of what we charge with the Saturday funeral services, so that's kind of a wash. And the vet services is something that just came in today for us. We learned that we need to do some additional steps, and our veterinarian who basically oversees the administration of us administering the medication to the animals. So there's certain liability components there that need to be covered and additional services that he needs to provide to us to be able to cover those liability concerns. So that's going to be probably around $6,000 a year that we need to, most likely we need to address for next year's budget.
What I'm looking for, you say that it's reimbursement that comes of wash. Why is that request being made for that?
For the cemetery, overtime. Basically, we're increasing an expense, but we're also making it up with revenue. So because we incur overtime expenses, we charge for those through the services we provide for those funerals that we oversee. So it's really a wash. I mean, you expense here, but you get it back in revenue. So it just cancels itself out. Any other questions that we can answer for?
I have one, but let everybody else go first, if they have one.
I think you can.
No question?
Yeah.
I'm going to be the travieso, Luis, okay? And I know you're going to probably smirk because you know what I'm going to ask. So, we still have budgeted for the wall of the Veterans Wall. And what's the update on that? Like, right now, where are we at with that?
The Veterans Wall was requested this year, but then basically it was taken out after we learned that the vendor could not meet our procurement policies. Basically, we wanted to pay for the wall and receive the wall at the time of payment, but it wasn't guaranteed. They offered us a payment plan, and we told them, well, let us put some money down, but we need to receive the wall. We can't just give money away and then receive the wall until after we make the final payment. We just can't do that. You guys can put a lien on us, you guys can do whatever you need to secure that, but we need to receive the product, and otherwise we kind of be venturing into gift clause issues. So they couldn't meet us under our policies. So basically we recommended not to do business with them. And what we have right now is we have $25,000 in carryover from this year to next year, which we are probably going to need to reassess because we're not recommending the purchase of the wall at this time, not unless things were to change with the vendor. So we do have $25,000 that are there, and basically we can carry them over and try to continue to work with the vendor or reassess those funds.
Okay. I just brought that up because, if we're not going to get, it sounds like it's, the terms aren't there, and we're just going to have it there allocated for something that's not going to be used for. Just for me personally, I see needs in the sense of, right there I saw that we're giving the police new gym equipment. I've taken a tour of their gym equipment. It's horrible, so it's desperately needed. But so is the fire department's gym equipment. So I don't know how the members feel, and please feel free to respond. But I think it's best if we think about recommending taking that allocation away and putting it into the general fund, and possibly using it for other needs, maybe like $10,000 for the equipment for the fire department, and then maybe the $15,000 that are left over for whatever else that we need.
And
I don't know if anybody has comments or questions on that from the committee.
I just want to clear my misstatement before. I thought that we had funded the police gym equipment, but it wasn't funded. We actually funded some building improvements
Okay.
So yeah, it's not funded. They requested $7,560 from police and fire. We partially funded their gym equipment. They requested $10,000 and we funded $7,000. So that's $3,000 from fire and $7,560 from police in total gym equipment. So $10,560 to address that.
Okay. Oh, that just came to mind with the allocation, but that's just one person. Does anybody else have any comments or questions on the budget? Anything to bring up? So do we, since it's recommendation, do we vote for it, Luis, or do you just go with no comment, no questions, comments, and this is what's being recommended?
Mr. Regalado, typically what we do is somebody makes a motion to make a recommendation on the budget, whether it's recommending the budget as presented or with the following changes. So somebody needs to make a motion to do that so that we can vote on it and take the recommendation to council.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion for recommendation on the budget?
Mr. Grijalva, I had a question. I like what you said about where the funds for using them. Maybe I've misunderstood you a little differently. If it's not going to be used for the wall, clarify that. Say that again, because I like what you said, but I want to make sure I'm clear. I'll just let you talk.
No, I was just basically what I meant to say was, if we have money allocated for a project that's not going to be completed or seen through, like the wall, I was just bringing up a suggestion of possibly recommending to move it into the general fund to use it for projects that need the funding. So basically just moving it from the wall of faces, or not the wall of faces, the veterans wall that, again, the negotiations broke down, to just moving it to the general fund to basically find something to use it for.
Okay, yes, no, I agree with you. I like the way you're thinking. Thank you.
So is there any motion for the recommendation of the budget as is or with any modifications?
It sounds like with what you said, there would be a modification. Yeah, I would vote for the modification.
So specify what the modification is.
Yeah, so if really see if I can walk you through it, and if I get correctly what the committee's trying to do. So the recommendation would be recommending the fiscal year 21-22 budget as presented, with moving $25,000 of carryover funding currently allocated to the Veterans Wall over to the general fund to be used for one-time capital purchase.
Sounds really good.
So
Say that again.
I don't know if I can repeat it.
That sounds good. It sounds good the first time.
So I make
Where it is here, we could say it.
So I make a motion to recommend the 2021, excuse me, 2022 budget with modification of moving the Vietnam Wall replica for $25,000 into the general fund to be used for other expenses.
One-time capital expense.
One-time capital expenses.
I second the motion to recommend the budget for fiscal year 2021, 2020.
You can just second the motion. She's got enough to record that.
I second.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Ms. Anel Lopez, am I correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And a second by Mr. Adam Brake.
Yes.
Okay, roll call?
Would you like to do roll call this time? Yeah, you can do roll call.
Mr. Grijalva,
Yes.
Ms. Alex Boneo, Mr. Adam Brake,
Yes.
Ms. Anel Lopez,
Yes.
Mr. Pete Cordova,
Yes.
Motion passes.
motion passed.
Motion passes. Thank you.
You gotta invite us when
I couldn't hear. Was it a question?
I told Chief Fulton you got to invite us when that gym opens up. That's going to be nice.
Oh. It'll save me a monthly membership, right?
No,
Item
council
number
members pay
6.
double.
Item number 6 on the agenda, adjournment. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
Do you have a second?
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Adam Brake and a second from
No.
Ms. Anel Lopez,
Alex isn't there, right? I was thinking about if it was Ms. Oh, sorry about that. And a second from Ms. Anel Lopez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. We are adjourned. I can't see the time there, but Daniel can on the time. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and thank you for understanding that I couldn't be there. Next time, I promise I'll be there, and I'll book you in person.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Mr.
very much,
Grijalva.
Mr. Grijalva.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Sorry, we
good
couldn't
night.
have some pizza.
I'll take the next one.
I wish I was there now. Thank you.
I'm good.
Good night.
Well, at least we're not going to fund the